Pastor don't think so. You go that.
I would.
Not go that warm. How many wants warm? Me, like, oh, more me than. Yeah. Okay, so let's pray, and then we get started. We're going to glorify God's name tonight. I love that song. It's just a sweet song, and it's page 9 if you want to look forward before we start praying, or after. I don't care. Are you ready? Dear Lord Heavenly Father, thank you for this time to come to your house again tonight. It's so exciting to be able to get back into your house and just praise you, glorify you, sing songs to glorify you, and just love your word. And thank you for each one to be able to be here tonight, Lord. We just praise you, glorify, and thank you for that. Thank you for all you've done for us through the week and through this hard time, Lord. We're just going to give you the praise and the glory. Sometimes we just don't understand, but we know you do, and it's all about you, and you're still in charge. Understand that and believe it in our hearts. And Lord, we just thank you for this day, and this night, and all that we have, and all that we glorify you. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. If you want to stand, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. We're going to go to page 9.
Oh, they better stand, or else, they're going to be sitting for like hours. So.
We're going to sing Glorify His Name, page 9. Are you ready?
Father, we love you, we worship and adore you. Glorify thy name in all the earth. Glorify thy name. Glorify thy name. Glorify thy name in all the earth. Jesus, we love you, we worship and adore you. Glorify thy name in all the earth. Glorify thy name. Glorify thy name. Glorify thy name in all the earth. Spirit, we love you, we worship and adore you. Glorify thy name in all the earth. Glorify thy name. Glorify thy name. Glorify thy name in all the earth.
Amen. That's awesome.
All right, you guys can be seated. Well, like I said, on these next few weeks, we're going to be taping this for those who cannot be here or things going on or something like that. So what we'll do is, for the next few weeks while we're taping it, while we're doing Facebook Live and everything, we'll do the lesson part, and then after we shut off the camera, we'll do the prayer request part and everything like that. For those who are at home, then they can pray on their own and everything. And like I said, I've been sending out the prayer bulletin and everything every week with the emails. So if you are at home and you want to see what we're praying for and stuff like that, it's also on the emails that I sent you as well. So tonight, we're going to talk about prayer. But yeah, we're going to talk about prayer a little bit. Because I was reading something and God kind of hit me with it. And, I was thinking, Wednesday night is our prayer service before all the coronavirus and everything happened and the lockdown, shutdown, everything like that. I say lockdown a lot, like we're in jail, but shutdown. We were coming on Wednesday nights. We were having prayer time around the altar. It was just a good prayer time. That's what Wednesday nights, that's what we want to make it as well, because I think prayer is probably one of the most important things we can do in our church. If you have not, by the way, if you haven't received one of the prayer bulletins, Lauren's passing them out back there as well. But as I was reading through and I was looking and I was thinking, why does it seem like so many times there is no power in our prayer? I don't know if you've ever felt like that, where it's kind of like maybe you prayed for something and you just got so frustrated because it felt like and it seemed like God just was not answering your prayer. And so you're like, why is nothing happening? Why isn't there anything happening? I'm praying. And some have prayed for a long time. I know mothers and fathers who have prayed for their kids to get saved for years and years and decades, and their kids never got saved, or they haven't gotten saved yet. I know it gets frustrating because you're like, I'm praying for this. Why isn't it being answered? Why isn't this happening? And I know, sometimes we feel like God just doesn't answer prayers when we pray certain times, and we kind of doubt things. Or maybe you've been unsure where you are with God. Like you weren't sure whether He was taking care of something that you really needed Him to take care of. Like you were praying hard, but it just seemed like He wasn't taking care of it. And you knew it was a need, and maybe in the health of someone. It may have been someone that was going through surgery, and you're just praying, but it just doesn't seem like He's listening. And, we've been through times like that. I know times in the past, I have felt like many times where it seems like God is just not even listening to me. Like there's no answer, no direction. And I pray for direction a lot. I ask God to give me direction, to show me vision for the church, show me what to do next, how we're supposed to handle things. And there's just sometimes, like there's not even a sign. Like you're wondering if your prayers are going any higher than the ceiling. I think we all get there sometimes. The passage I want to look at today, Peter, James, and John kind of felt that same way. And so if you have your Bibles and you want to turn to Matthew chapter 17, we're just going to look at this. Not going to take very long tonight, but just kind of challenging for prayer, because I think out of this passage, Matthew 17, 14 through 21, it gives us a reason why Peter, James, and John, their prayers weren't being answered. And I think it kind of correlates and goes along with what sometimes we feel when we're praying too. Prayer is one of the most important things we can do. And so as I think and I look at a lot of these things that are going on today, we are not going to be able to handle them without prayer. And if we don't have strength and power in our prayer, then we're kind of at a loss. Because that's how we commune with God. That's how we talk with God. And when there's no strength or power in our prayer, we don't feel like there's any strength or power, then it's just like we don't have power in our spiritual lives either. And so I want to show you what Peter, James, and John were dealing with, and kind of with this. So it's Matthew chapter 17, verse 14 through 21. And it says this, And when they were coming to the multitude, there came to him a certain man kneeling down to him and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is a lunatic and sore vexed. For oftentimes he falleth into the fire, and often into the water. And I brought him to thy disciples, and they could not cure him. Then Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse nation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me. And and Jesus rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. Then came the disciples to Jesus apart, and said, Why could not we cast him out? And Jesus said to them, Because of your unbelief. For verily I say unto you, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, you shall say unto this mountain, Remove hence and yonder place, and it shall be removed. And nothing shall be impossible unto you. Howbeit this kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting. Now, here's the story. Here's what's going on. Obviously, Peter, James, and John, they were out on their own in a certain part of town. Jesus, everyone was crowded around Jesus. So the bigger crowd was around Jesus, Peter, James, and John. They were taking care of some of the sick and things like that. And they had healed people before. But obviously they couldn't heal this child, this man's child. And, it's kind of like they didn't say anything to Jesus. It's like they kind of came back and they're like, oh, everything was good, no problem. They never told Jesus they couldn't heal this child or this man. Until the dad comes and says, Jesus, can you please heal my child? I came to Peter, James, and John, and they couldn't do it. So will you please do it? He still had faith that Jesus could do it. Now, at that time, I'm sure Peter, James, and John were kind of hiding, kind of looking down, because they were embarrassed. They're like, well, we should have told Jesus. We should have let him know that we couldn't do it. Because it wasn't until after the story that they kind of get Jesus alone and say, why couldn't we heal him? Why was our prayer not powerful? Why could our prayer not do anything for this young man? And Jesus tells them why they had no spiritual power in their life, and he tells them what they needed to do, and he tells us as well. So, look at our prayer life many times when there's no power or things like that. Look at the prayer life here that Peter, James, and John had. And I think there's three things here that kind of Jesus says why they had no power in their prayer. And actually, it's three things that we struggle with, that why we have no power in prayer. I don't know about you, but I would love to be a prayer warrior like some prayer warriors I know. I know there are some people who, when they pray, it seems like God answers right away. And then there's sometimes some people who they pray and nothing ever happens. I want to be one of those when I pray, I see God working and doing some great miraculous things. That's what I want. So I want God's power on me. I want to be able to pray and have power. So what are some things that Jesus says? Well, the first thing Jesus says about why there's no power in the prayer, he says, you're faithless. Now, the disciples have been with Jesus for probably a few years at this time, a couple or a few years, and they still didn't have faith, which makes no sense to me. But I don't think we're quite getting what he's saying. He's not just saying you have no faith. You don't believe in me at all. What he's saying is you didn't have faith enough to trust him no matter what the circumstances was. It's like the disciples still believed in the impossible. Now, if I look at us and I were to ask who still believes that there's things that are impossible, if we were honest, many of us would probably have to. And that's what Jesus is saying to them. Why didn't you believe that there is nothing impossible? Why do you still think, after seeing me all these years, after traveling with me all these years, disciples, Peter, James, and John, after you saw all the miracles I've done, after you've seen everything that I've done, why do you still think there are things that are impossible? And we need to answer that question ourselves. Why do you and I still think there are things impossible? Because we quote it. I think sometimes it just becomes saying, nothing is impossible with God. We say that. But the question is, if we're going to have faith, we have to believe it. And I think there's no power in our prayer for one reason, because we still believe in the impossible. Because our human eyes and our human mind, we still are limited to that. And you know what? With God, there is nothing impossible. I mean, if God can heal Lazarus from the dead, if Jesus Christ can come from the dead himself, come out of the tomb, then we should know and we should be able to realize as we are closer to God that nothing is impossible. I know we look at instances in our life right now and we say, well, that's just impossible. That will never happen. But you know what? God says nothing is. And I think that's what he's saying to the disciples at this time. You're still believing that there's things that are impossible. Maybe they thought that this kid could not be healed because they thought this is just impossible. It's impossible to heal this kid. I mean, think about it. They were probably scared because this kid was a lunatic. Now, it means many things, and there's some commentaries which say they think that it means this or this. But I'll tell you, it seems like he was just crazy. I mean, he threw himself in the fire trying to kill himself many times. He threw himself in the water trying to kill himself. And I'm sure the disciples said, well, there's nothing holding this kid back, and he wants to kill me. I guess he can kill me. They were scared because they saw that there was still something maybe impossible. And so I ask you, and I want you to think about this. What do you think is impossible right now? What comes to your mind what is impossible? Because you know what? According to God, it's not. You know, we talk about this virus and everything like, well, it's always going to be around and things like that, and it may be. But it's not impossible for God to take care of us through the virus. And that's just something small that we look at. But God can do the impossible. Trust is not only saying that we believe, trust is following through with what we believe. Think about our time. Does our time show people and show God that we trust him? What are some things that we look at, that we think about our time, that, well, I have to do this. It's my time, that I have a certain time I need to do this, or I have to do this. And there's a lot of things in our life that we think about, well, if I don't do this at this certain time, it's not going to happen. But you know what? God says nothing is impossible. Our time should follow through. Now, I think about that when I think of stuff like that. I think of, for me, being in church. Being in church is part of a time issue, right? I mean, a lot of people don't come to church. They don't come to church because of time. I know there's some fear and stuff like that. Understandable right now. But what I'm saying is a lot of people don't come to church because they basically, in their mind, they say, I don't have time to go to church. Which means what? We think that our time is important, and it's impossible for us to go to church and to accomplish what we want or what God wants. How about our money? That's a big one for all of us. A lot of times, there are things that God lays on my heart that I need to give towards, either at the church or out, in public, or things like that, that I say, well, there's no way I can give to that, because, we have to have money for this, and money for that, and money for this, and we don't have enough money at the end of the month, and stuff like that, so there's no way I can give to that. And that's what I'm saying, is I'm limiting God. I'm saying, God, it's impossible for you to make my money stretch to where it needs to stretch to. Or our testimony. Our testimony shouldn't be something that we think is impossible. It doesn't matter what your past is. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past. What matters is this. God can use someone who is the worst, vile sinner and make him the best testimony and Christian ever. And you know what? Nothing is impossible for God. I mean, all the things that are going on right now, none of it's impossible. The second thing is this. And he says it, right here he says, "O faithless and perverse nation." So the first thing we see is faithless. We think things are impossible when they should not. We should never think things are impossible. But it says perverse nation. And when I was looking up the word perverse nation, it wasn't what I thought it was. Perverse nation, when he's saying that, he's saying a nation that is not close to me. A nation that is rebellious toward me. He's not saying perverted or anything like that. What he's saying is, "Oh, you nation that has not come close to me with your heart." He had 5,000 people following him almost all the time. But he says people were not close to him. And what he means is their hearts were not close to him. And that happens to us just like it happens to the disciples. I mean, think about it. His disciples were with him 24/7. And he still says, "You perverse." And he's talking to the disciples here. "You perverse nation, you perverse disciples. You disciples who have not given me your heart yet. You're with me 24/7. You're close to me physically. But you know what? Your heart is not with me." And he says, because of that, you could not heal this kid either. I mean, they were always with him physically, but not. They were rebellious. I mean, look at some of the disciples. Look at Judas. Was Judas not rebellious? We see that at the end. You look at Peter. Peter was rebellious. Peter a lot of times argued with Jesus. "God, I will never leave you. God, I will fight for the death for you." And then he takes out a sword and cuts off a soldier's ear. When God says, no, I don't want you to do that. See, he was arguing with him all the time. He was rebellious. He still had some of those rebellious tendencies. And we are a lot like that too. And I hate to say that because people that hair stands up on the back of their neck and say, "How dare you call me rebellious?" But all of us, at one time or another, a lot of times, we are rebellious to God. We are rebellious. Let me ask you, okay, I want you to think about this and give me an answer. A few answers, actually. How are Christians, how are we in our daily lives a lot of times rebellious to God? What are some things that we're rebellious in?
Witness.
What?
Witnessing.
Witnessing, yeah. I'm scared to death to witness. And I know God wants me to witness. But I don't think, I think it would be okay if I don't. Rebellion. What else? What are some things that we're rebellious in? Yeah.
Our prayer time.
Our prayer time. What do you mean? I think I know what you mean, but
Just when God shows us it's time to pray, we've always got something else we want to do, and we put him off for another time, and then that other time never comes.
yep. Maybe God wants us to pray when we're getting ready to go to bed, and we're like, "Lord, I'm tired. It's been a rough and long day." And so we forget. Anything else you can think of that we're rebellious in?
Helping others, compassion, and time for others.
Compassion's a big one. Compassion, love for others. It's sometimes hard in our human life to have love and compassion for people. But that's what God tells us He wants us to do. And we can either listen to Him and have compassion on other people, or we can be rebellious at it. There's a lot of things we are rebellious in. And you may have one that no one ever thought of, that you know, but that's the problem. That's why our prayer is not answered a lot of times. Because we're rebellious in our heart. Oh, we're not very rebellious physically. We're not like, God, I don't want to listen to you. We don't say that out loud. But a lot of times in our heart, we're like, I really don't want to do it, so I'm not gonna. No one will know except for God. Well, maybe God wants me to witness to this person. But if I don't, no one's going to know that I was supposed to. And we're rebellious in that area. So that's one of the things I see as well. You know, as we think about things, and we think about our prayer life, we need to remember, and we need to think, maybe we don't have power in our prayer life because we're rebellious. Rebellious towards God. And the last thing that you see on there, it says, because of your unbelief. Why couldn't they heal this young man? Because of their unbelief. Now, my question is, why is he saying to his disciples, Peter, James, and John, which were his closest disciples, you are unbelief. Because of your unbelief. You didn't believe. I mean, when you're right with God, you should have no doubt that He can do whatever He wants you to do. And your prayer life should be according to His will. But then He says to these three, because of your unbelief. And as I looked at that and I studied that and I thought about that, because of their unbelief was this. They didn't believe that they had the same power that God had. Now we look at that and we say, well, of course they didn't have the same power God had. They were humans, right? But look at Jesus' life. Jesus removed Himself from heaven, came and was all fully man here on earth, but still had the power to heal anyone just by saying, be healed. How could He do that but the disciples could not? And it's because they didn't believe like He believed. They didn't believe in the Father as much as He believed in the Father. And we do that exact same thing in our lives today. A lot of times, our unbelief holds us back in our prayer life. You may have someone that you're thinking of right now that you know is not saved. They've never accepted Jesus Christ as their Savior. If they were to die right now, or maybe they're not doing well, and you're like, if they die, they're going to go to hell. I know they are. And I am praying for them. I'm praying for them. But nothing's happening. And part of the reason may be because you have unbelief. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I can't make it happen. And you're right, you can't make it happen. But God can. And we need to pray, believing that God can and will do anything if we're willing to ask Him.
Man.
Now, I know it's up to individuals to accept Jesus Christ as their Savior. God gives us that choice. But what I'm saying is our prayers a lot of times hold God back from answering those prayers. We're the reason why God's holding back. Because of our unbelief. Just like Peter, James, and John. And their unbelief. Our prayers are not answered many times because we're not serious about it. And he follows it up with the last thing, okay? He says, well, you should have been faithful, right? If you were faithful, you should have been faithful having enough trust in God to follow through. Having the faith to follow through. But then he says you should have been faithful, meaning you should have faith that God can do anything. But then he adds something to it. You should have been serious. And do you know what he says at the end of that? Look at the very last sentence. Howbeit this kind goeth out, God goeth not out, but by prayer and, what's that last word?
Fasting.
Here's my question. When's the last time you fasted? When's the last time you've heard of a Christian fasting for the power of God? You see, that is seriousness. Do you know why fasting was first named and everything in the Bible? It was to show God that they were serious So what he said, and this is found in the Old Testament, it said, you need to pray and fast. Now, at the time when he was talking about fasting from food. But there are other things that we can fast from besides food. For a while, I know when I was in college and everything, I had a every Wednesday kind of ritual, I guess. But it was because I had a prayer that I wanted God to answer. I was in college. And the prayer, honestly, was that I'd be able to stay in college and be able to finish college because my parents had filed bankruptcy and everything. No more payment for college means no more college. It just works that way for some reason. But I was fasting every Wednesday. I made a promise. God, I'm not going to turn on the radio or the TV or anything like that. I'm going to fast from electronics, from those things. Because I want you to know that I'm serious. And I say it to kind of my detriment too. I don't fast like I should anymore. If we want to show God that we're serious about our prayer life, then we need to dedicate to fasting once in a while. And that is something so foreign today. You never hear about it anymore. But that's how in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, and even Jesus says it, that's how we show God that we're serious about prayer. Lord, for the next 6 hours, for the next 12 hours, maybe that's I'm going to fast. I'm only going to drink liquids. I'm not going to eat something. Or maybe for the next 6 hours or 12 hours, I'm not going to be watching. I'm not going to watch any TV today. I'm not going to turn on anything like that. I'm not going to turn on the radio. I'm not going to do those things. For the next day or whatever, I'm not going to do this. Something that we love, something that we like doing. But then we say, because I'm serious about this prayer, and I want God's power in my life, and I want to see this prayer answered, I'm going to fast because I want you to see God. I'm serious. And I want you to know, and I want to put feet to my prayer. I want to show you that I'm serious. If we were willing to do that, I think we'd see a lot more prayers answered that we have been praying for a long time. Because we would show God, Lord, I'm serious about this. I believe you can do anything. Nothing is impossible. And I'm going to show you that I believe that because I'm going to fast. And I believe that you're going to answer this prayer because I believe you're going to see how serious I am. So I challenge every one of us, even those who are watching at home or anything like that. Believe God can do anything. Put feet to your prayer that you are going to do whatever He wants you to do. You're not going to be rebellious. And then, don't have unbelief. But at the same time, maybe show God that you are serious. Fast from something. I can't tell you what it is. That's between you and God. But be willing to give up something for God. So that He can see, Lord, I'm serious. I need this prayer answered. I think of probably one of the biggest prayers that I had was when my kids, my last child, Caleb, he was not saved yet. It seemed like he was stubborn, okay? Still is sometimes. But he was stubborn. And he did not want to get saved. I mean, he knew how to be saved. He grew up in church. But I know this. I wanted God to see that I'm serious about that. And I remember fasting because I wanted to see him saved. I think of mothers who pray for their children for decades because they want to see their kids come back to the Lord. I think of dads who do the same thing. I think of husbands who will want to see their wives, or wives who want to see their husband either come to the Lord or get right with the Lord or start coming to church with them or start being spiritual leader of the family or something like that. And I see that. And my question is, why is it not happening? I mean, we see people pray all the time, and the reason it's not happening is because either we don't believe God can answer a prayer like that, we don't trust that He can do it, or we don't show Him we're serious about it by prayer and fasting. So that's my challenge for you tonight. I know it's something that we don't hear a lot about, but I think that if we want to show God that we're serious about certain things, we need to be willing maybe to fast once in a while, but also believe that God can do anything. That don't believe there's anything impossible. And that takes us trusting God and being close to Him. But don't believe anything is impossible. Because with God, all things are possible, and we know that. So it's time to put feet to our prayer. We're going to stop the thing now, Facebook Live, and then we're going to go into our prayer service. So if you're at home,